Good morning, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. Happy Monday. If you're in Northern New Jersey, it took a chilly turn again for us, which, right? I know. I was not, I'm not on board with that. Although I'm on board with seasons because of our want to keep our, get to our climate change issues for sure. But I was looking forward to spring and all the flowers popping and getting to there. But nonetheless, here we are. We are with a little chill here in Northern New Jersey today, but we're ready for a great week, and we're kicking it off with a really important conversation on YWTV. Again, my name is Helen Archontou. I'm the CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. And we are all in it, navigating our way through where we are, which is year 3 of living with the COVID-19 pandemic. And, now one of the long-term pieces of this is really the mental health and behavioral concerns, that really have been weighing down on all of us. And honestly, so many people have been ignoring them. They're trying to work around them and, not really acknowledging them. But the reality of it is they popping themselves up in lots of different ways, despite our best intention to try to persevere and keep working through them. And we are especially seeing them, manifest and with our teens and with our children for sure. We know that mental illness can be harder to identify in our teens, especially because so often we think that kind of up and down of emotional stuff that can come, we think is just normal part of of one's teen experience and kind of gets written off that way. And so sometimes parents can't tell that their teens are really, really struggling. And so that's why we thought it was so important to have this conversation today and have with us mental health expert Lynette Sheard. She is going to help us understand how mental health affects our teenagers and the signs that parents and caregivers should be looking for. Before we jump into this really important conversation, I want to tell you a little bit about Lynette, who is just such an important part of our community, the work that she's doing. She's the Community Education Coordinator and Director of the New Jersey Mental Health Players, a highly successful and interactive community education program. It utilizes performance art as an advocacy tool to increase education and awareness and break the silence and stigma that often is associated with mental health concerns for sure. She has worked with the Mental Health Association for over 15 years as a senior employment specialist, a career connections job coach, a staff development job coach, a staff development trainer, and a community educator. She is also the recipient of the APSE's Employment Professional of the Year Award for her successful employment outcomes and with multi-abled individuals. She is certified by Mental Health America as a trainer of mental health first aid for adults, older adults, and youth. And she is also certified in suicide prevention specialist and a crisis intervention team trainer. In addition to all of her mental health proficiency, she is also a sought-after public speaker and trainer, a TEDx host, and a mental health advocate who creates creative platforms to engage audiences. She is also a versatile vocalist, an actor, a producer, a director, and a vocal coach. And in 2017, she was inducted into the Encyclopedia of Newark Jazz. With all of that, we are so grateful that you could make the time to be with us this morning. Welcome, Lynette.
Thank you for having me. It's you know what, and all that, I'm a mom and I'm a grandmom and I'm a daughter and I am an aunt. I am connected to family and friends and and during this time, as you mentioned, in the middle of a pandemic, possibly moving to an endemic, there's been so much change and so much transition that mental health, in a good way, there's good things that did come out of this, is now not such a taboo to talk about because we're kind of like maybe all in the same boat, but not in the same storm type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a wonderful opportunity. And to talk about youth, I mean, yeah. Could you imagine? I can't imagine going to school and doing everything in times like this. I don't know how they're doing it. They are so courageous.
I have to agree on that last point, and I also want to lift up and appreciate that you shared your other roles as well, because it just, when we do talk about mental health, I mean, it's one of the things to remember that we are all juggling so many pieces of ourselves, and within that, that's what one of the reasons why it's so important for parents and caregivers to be listening today, because sometimes with all of that juggling, when we are seeing signs with our teens, we want to think that it's just normal growing up stuff, and we don't want to think that it's something more than that. um, and what that could mean. So it's so important to be having this conversation to help us kind of step back with the juggling, that we all do every day, so that we can kind of refocus for a moment and really look at, how are our kids doing and what might they need? And then most importantly, where are the resources? And thanks to the great work that you're doing, we know that some of them are right here in our community to share.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, let's talk a little bit. And you said it yourself just now. I mean, our youth are so brave. I mean, they are so brave navigating this time. It's unprecedented, as we keep hearing, the word over the last 3 years be used over and over again. There is no playbook to be able to coach our kids through this, because we have not been through it ourselves, to be able to give them tips. Can you
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit, to help us about mental health and the effect on teenagers, so that we can, help our parents kind of
Absolutely.
look at their kids and know what's going on?
Yeah, and you said it. You said it. The focus. I mean, we'll ask about grades. We'll ask about, did your tummy hurt, or do you have a headache, or how do you feel, or how was the game, or this. But do we ask how they're feeling emotionally, and how does mental health affect teenagers? First of all, becoming a teen is an exciting milestone, but it doubles as a challenge. Up to 75% of mental health challenges begin during adolescence, and 1 in 5 will experience a mental health disorder in their lifetime. Teens' usual way of thinking or feeling, acting can interfere. What a mental illness is something that interferes with their ability to simply live, laugh, love, and learn in their sense of normal. But thinking about the things that they're overcoming and what's normal for a teen: becoming independent, navigating high school, forming new relationships, getting a driver's license, tests, assessments, body changes, a pandemic, social media, distance learning, um, anxiety and depression, eating disorder, substance use, experiencing trauma over the internet, bullying, sexism, racism, gender bias, unequal access, violence. Imagine, I don't know how old you are, I'm not going to go there, but I didn't have all this access. I'm in my late 50s. It wasn't always a constant. It wasn't something that I could not turn off. This is consistent for our teenagers. And it's important to notice what is normal teen behavior. Normal teen behavior is changing one's appearance. Styles come and go. Some social withdrawal from family life. That's normal for a teenager. Increased arguments. That's actually normal. They're trying to find their way. They're trying to find their voice. Their emotions are going up and down. Their hormones are out of whack. We're talking about, these are typical things. What's not typical is stealing, becoming physically abusive to others, or destructive in the house, anxiety and sadness that never seems to go away. Because having these feelings based upon all the things that they're going through and emotions, it's normal to have a sense of anxiety. It's normal to feel a little depressed. It's normal to feel sad. But when it becomes debilitating and it affects the other areas in a negative way, obsessing, it's not just thinking about, oh, I'm too thin, or I'm too this, or I'm too that. They take themselves apart. That's absolutely normal. But obsessing about it, or dramatic changes in eating habits, patterns of never going out with friends when they used to go out with friends all the time, coming home drunk or high, staying out all night, getting arrested, constant need to argue over small things, possibly openly defiant or refusing to follow rules, passing the blame for everything, never taking responsibility. These are things to look out for because it's interesting because you opened with when you gave the introduction about kind of what the landscape is. I want parents and teens to focus on their emotional well-being. Mental health is real. What there is a distinction. And I just want to share that distinction because um, we can talk about mental health and we can talk about emotional wellness. Now, the important distinction that I want is that mental health is that you can experience mental health issues while maintaining a good emotional health, and vice versa. For example, while struggling with mental health, which is how your mental health is how your mind processes and understands information and experiences. That's a biological thing because mental illness is real. It's real. It's a chemical imbalance. They're things. So it's how your mind processes and understands its information and experiences. While emotional well-being involves your ability to manage and express those emotions that arise with what you've learned and experienced. So you see how they can kind of go hand in hand. We can feel certain things even as adults, but how we process it and how we find coping skills to overcome and manage those things, they go hand in hand. What our youth don't possibly realize, and they're doing it, they're doing something because not everyone is struggling, but a lot of people are. But beginning the conversation about how are you feeling? Um, Tell me, explain to me how you're feeling. But also, as parents, notice things in a way that's not confrontational. I noticed that you're not hanging out with so and so like you used to. Is everything okay? You want to talk about it? And then, you know what? This is the hardest part of parents. Listen, non judgmentally. And how we do that is, parents, they know us. They know us better than we know ourselves. And we're listening non judgmentally. We can't listen like this. We have to watch our faces. We have to watch our tones. We have to watch our body language. We have to be open because it takes so much courage and trust to answer those difficult questions. How are you really? As an adult, think about if one of your close friends or your loved ones came up to you because they noticed something and said, I noticed. How are you really? Would you have the courage to tell the truth? Or would you tell them what they wanted to hear just so they wouldn't worry about you? It takes so much courage to break the stigma. But once you do, you begin to build up your muscles of resilience and coping skills because people recover. 80%. 80% of people recover, but we don't hear that part. Give people hope and
Yeah.
validation. Yeah.
I have to say, you said so much there that I just want to make sure that we, highlight
No,
pieces.
I get so excited.
No, it was great. I mean, it was great. You laid it out there so perfectly. I mean, you talked about the and so nicely laid out the difference between mental health and mental illness and emotional wellness, and how those two pieces are connected, but they're also separate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so important for us to remember. And just giving us that hope, and the statistic that people do get through these difficult times, and they do it by learning and spending time with professionals who can help guide us with those important coping skills that you're mentioning. And you gave us so many great after we ask the question, how we respond is so key in being able to continue that engagement with our teen, for sure.
Mhm.
So let's keep talking though about the coping skills, right?
Mhm.
And I think when you think about teens, um, one of the things that is that they feel like they know they have everything they need. There's nothing that you can give them that's going to help. And I think one of the things that's so unique about your work in particular is that you've come up with a very creative way to give them coping skills, and to help them embrace learning something new without them feeling as if there was something missing within them, but lifting them up. So can you talk a little bit about helping parents get their youth to a journey of embracing the idea of I need help, and that's okay, and what that help might look like?
Absolutely. And you know what? The first part is, first of all, as parents or as loved ones or caregivers, decide how you feel about it first. Are you really open to it? Are you really prepared to hear something you're uncomfortable with? How are you going to take care of yourself if you get some news that's going to be uncomfortable for you? So before you even acknowledge or go in and want to help, or you help yourself first, think about your own coping skills. What do you do? Because our youth will not do what we say, but do what we do. And they're soaking it in. Is self care important to you? Are you demonstrating self care in your own life? Do they see you feel anxiety, depression, or sadness? They may see you, but do they see how you recover? Do they see what you do to make yourself feel better? Some tips that parents can do as far as talking about mental health with their youth: set aside some time with no distractions. That's easier said than done in the world that we live in. To provide, and you can even say this, we're going to have a non judgmental space with no distractions. Sometimes just that attention in a positive way, because first of all, they're testing you. Let me see if she can really or he can really be judgmental, non judgmental. Let them share as much or as little as they want to. Think about it as adults. Now, first of all, teens' brains are not fully developed till even after 24, they're talking about. So while we may be very expressive about our feelings and how we feel, it may be very difficult for your teen or your youth to kind of to put it together or to explain it. So it may not come out in a Shakespeare soliloquy. It may come out in 3 or 4 conversations. It may come out over pancakes. It may come out in different times of the day. But give them that time and let them share as much or as little as they are testing you. Because again, remember, it takes a lot of courage to be able to trust and to talk about. Don't try to diagnose or second guess their feelings. As parents and loved ones, we do that all the time because we think we know better. And a lot of times we do because we can see around those corners that they can't. But remember, we're not medical experts, and we shouldn't try to make assumptions or just jump in too quickly with our own diagnosis or solutions. That's why that kind of be stillness is really important. Keep questions open ended. Say something like, "Hey, why don't you tell me how you're feeling?" Rather than, "I can see you're feeling very low." We can notice certain things, but really try to keep them as open ended as possible. Keep the language neutral, and again, give them that time. Talk about your self care, and that self care can be exercising, eating well, um, eating well to your level, getting a good night's rest, journaling, painting, singing, dancing, listening to music, nature. Start thinking about what you do to cope and share that with your youth. Maybe they haven't thought about those things as coping skills. Listen carefully to what they tell you. And that means reframing sometimes what they're telling you so that they know and you know so that you're hearing the right things. Because, as a parent or as a loved one or as an older person, we have our own filters and we want to go right to the solution. but the solution we want to encourage for emotional wellness is within that youth, for them to find their path, and it's kind of hard to do that. But listen carefully and offer them help in seeking professional support and provide information on ways to do this. There's call lines, there's text lines. You break the stigma by offering this information. There's no shame in seeking support, because what therapy will do is not highlight what's wrong with you, but protect what's right with you.
Yeah.
And so that you can understand how you're built, how your mind thinks, and how you can be able to recover from anything. So seeking help and letting them know that it's okay to
Yeah.
seek help, seek professional help is not a bad word.
I have to say, where you started and where you ended, you really kind of brought us like all the way through that. I mean, it really starts as parents that we have to kind of make sure that we have the supports in place, because as you start to kind of travel down the road, you don't know what you're going to hear, and you may
Yeah,
or may not be equipped on how to handle it. And that it really has to start with creating that emotional wellness and dealing any mental health issues for ourselves, because they are always watching and they do mimic. And if they see that we embrace that it's okay to get help, then that will make it easier for them to do. So I so appreciate that that's where you started. And, you really brought us all the way through to, there are resources out there. There are resources out there. And, there was so many great steps along the way, but you got us to the resources. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, you talked about helplines, you talked about important information, but I know that, um, I follow so many different organizations and their work. And we actually had a member of your organization who was part of an event that we did a few months ago. And there's so many important programs, including yours, happening at your organization. Can you talk to us a little bit about where we can go for services and help, and more specifically a little bit about your organization and your work there, so that we can check it out and learn more?
absolutely. Thank you for the wonderful question. And I want to start with, before I go into the possible treatment options, because I don't think a lot of people really are aware of the different types of treatment options. People just think it's just kind of one way. We got to go to a psychiatrist. We got to go to a therapist. But as parents and loved ones, know your own limits. Sometimes there are things that we cannot fix, and we don't know, and express your discomfort. I'm not sure, but we're going to figure this out together. But some treatment options to consider: individual psychotherapy, is one type of modality. Group therapy. Consider family therapy. There are different programs within the high schools or in the middle schools that are focused on emotional well-being. Um, and we know that there are barriers to a lot of these things. But as far as the Mental Health Association, we have free, at no cost, call lines, texting lines, free virtual groups. You don't have to be diagnosed with anything. You don't have to even give your name, and I can share that information. Well, one specifically, our call line is available 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at 866-202-HELP. You can be as young as 14 to call, and this is throughout the state of New Jersey. Or you can text NJ Hope to 51684. Like I said, it's no cost. You don't need insurance. It's anonymous. Multilingual services are available 7 days a week. They can even provide or direct you to more crisis-centered care if that's what you need. And it's not just related to mental health, but also related to addiction issues. So consider seeking help, or even going to our website, mhanj.org, and take a free screening. Get a sense of kind of what your baseline is or what normal is. First of all, there's no such thing as normal. It's what's normal for you. But get a sense of the language. Start tracking your feelings and emotions when you notice certain things. Is it around a certain time of the month, or is there a birthday, or is it a season, or is it something you ate? Did you didn't get enough rest? the night before, or you have a test coming. Start paying attention to when you're not feeling your normal and begin intentionally, as you mentioned, Helen, focus. Focus on your emotional well being because there is no health without mental health. You can be the strongest, as we saw in the Olympics this year. We saw some of the strongest athletes that had muscles in their pinky toes who could do these amazing things, but when your mind is not well, it doesn't matter. You can't be who you want to be. So these things, if it affects Olympians, of course it's going to impact all of us. So let's break the stigma and start looking into the different ways that you can at least introduce mental health into your own families, into your life, and talk about it freely, expressing your feelings and knowing that there are different levels of care and service and ways that you can connect to mental health support. But I encourage everyone, you can go to mhascreenings.org and take a free screening just to get a sense.
You gave us so many great tools and techniques and tips there. For those of you that are watching, you see that the phone numbers that Lynette shared, the website, the links, they have all been passing by on the screen. We'll also be putting them in the comments for you so that you can follow up there as well. What a tremendous resource, though, that you can go right to their website and take a free assessment, a free confidential assessment to be that first step, just to give you some information and help you figure out where to go from there. And the beauty of that is, again, it is confidential. It's, just some information. And then as you're ready, you can, take the next step from there as well. But you can feel comforted and supported knowing that there is a tremendous resource in our community with this organization to be able to support you and your family, wrap around you and help you through this time, give you the coping skills. There are trained, seasoned, and empathetic, supportive professionals like Lynette, just waiting there to be able to support you. And we do encourage you to not only check out their website, follow them on social media, stay connected to them, because you may not, what we find with YWTV is sometimes you're learning about something that maybe at that particular moment you don't have a need for it, but it's in your head now. And you never know. You could be talking to a family member, a neighbor, or it could pop up in your own life that suddenly you need this resource. And now, because you spent some time with us here today, you have the ability to either help yourself or help someone in your life by making that connection for them. So please check out the website, follow them on social media, and stay connected. Lynette, the time goes so quickly, but before we leave each other, I wanted to just very specifically talk about the wonderful program that's actually what had me invite you on today. I had gotten a message about the work that you're doing with your players group, and I wanted to just I love it because it really does help provide all of that coping, all the training and the coping skills and really supportive information, but in a way that really hopefully helps people not feel stigmatized, because it's interactive, it feels fun, it's in a group, it's supportive. I mean, there's so many positives about what you've created. Can you share a little bit specifically about your program so that we can get people to check it out?
Absolutely. The New Jersey Mental Health Players is the longest running community education program of its type throughout the state of New Jersey. We combine art and advocacy because art disarms people. And so while people, think they're going to see a performance, and what a performance looks like for the players is we may go into a school or we train police officers or fire or parents or PTA. Our audiences is everyone because mental health impacts everyone. So what we do is we use improvisational theater. So our volunteers, they're all volunteers from ages 14 to 90 actually. And they will actually do a skit. Say, I'm just going to give an example of what schizophrenia looks like at work. So we have a full audience who are watching this role play or this improv, because a lot of it's not even scripted. They have a scaffolding script, but it's really kind of live. So they're going to be actually acting out the signs and symptoms while the audience is watching. The characters then will stop and say, well, what should I say next? So the audience decides how the engagement should go. So each show is absolutely different because the audiences are going to be different. So it's seeing mental health, it's seeing racism, sexism, ageism, all these isms, because all those impact your mental health, what it looks like in person. It's one thing to see it in a book or to read about it on social media, but when you see two people with beating hearts, you see them crying, you see them running away, you see that actual engagement, it affects you differently. It comes off the page. And you're able to kind of see, oh, I really never saw it that way. I never noticed that. Oh gosh, that must be so hard. So the audience gets really engaged in trying to collectively come up with a solution to this concern that they never really thought about. So we do that weekly, we do that monthly, we do that virtually, having what we call for our 2022 series, the Uncomfortable Change series, where we teach or we demonstrate uncomfortable conversations about racism, uncomfortable conversations about reentry into work, uncomfortable conversations about bullying and social media, uncomfortable conversations about sexism, uncomfortable conversations about pronouns. We have uncomfortable conversations through the use of dramatic arts. So we have scripts, and the audience, the virtual audience, will see this virtual conversation with sound cues and music and all this kind of stuff. And then the actor will say, well, should I call her back? Well, should I have said that? And then the audience anonymously is really, well, yeah, you should have called. Well, you should have said this, you should have said that. So in addition to all that fun and interactive that we do, we always give basic information related to the topic that we are presenting, and then some possible solutions and coping skills and resources based upon the local agency that we're working with.
Well,
So we are open. We are at no cost to your organization. If you're interested in booking the New Jersey mental health players virtually or in person, you can contact me, and you can put this in at Sheard, or actually at mental health players at mhanj.org. Mental health players at mhanj.org.
so
And
we're
we
going to
can
put all these links in for our viewers too. When before we're done in the comments, we're going to put all the links to the websites, to the players. It's such a unique program, but such a tremendous opportunity to be able to have this resource and this ability to be, as as you shared. I mean, we can watch, we can learn, and we know that the arts help get to places that regular talk therapy sometimes can't. And so it's such an opportunity for us to really embrace and check out this amazing program that Lynette has, led and brought and evolved to this great place. So I encourage everyone to do that, whether you check it out for yourself, for your family, share it with someone in your life, or connect with her to bring the program to your organization. I already at the start of this said to her that the YW definitely wants to partner and bring these conversations, from a intersection perspective. Our work is aligned for sure, and I'm so grateful that we have you in the community and supporting these conversations. And so, again, for our viewers, please have this be the beginning, not the end of your relationship with this wonderful organization, this amazing program within it, and this tremendous mental health professional we have in our community. There's so much more to learn. This was just a short part of the conversation, but we're so glad you could start your week with us and learn. And so with that, again, in our comments, and as they've been flashing on the screen, the links so that you can stay connected. Lynette, thank you again so much for the work that you're doing. It really is transformational for people's lives, and the tools and the opportunities that you're able to provide is really really tremendous. We're so grateful to you. We're grateful to our viewers as well for taking the time and be ambassadors of sharing information. As I said, whether you use it for yourself today or file it away for in case, you need it, or share it with someone else in your life. These programs really can save a life. And so it's really, really, really important to, to carry this information with you, because you never know when it can help. We have so many, another, 2 more great conversations this week. Obviously, Thursday is when we share the mic now with Black women in our community and their stories. So please join us on Thursday. And on Friday, we have Tanisha Nash Laird, the president and CEO of the Newark Symphony Hall, with us to be learning about that great program. What better way to start the weekend? And so we are so happy to spend this time with you today. We wish everyone a wonderful week. Please, as I said, stay connected with Lynette, her organization, and her program, and stay connected with us. We have the links here to the YW website. We have lots of great programs as we're closing out Women's History Month, still for you to join us for our networking event, to finish out our Women's Leadership Conference series. So many great programs going on for girls, for our seniors in our community, camps coming this summer, you name it. There's a lot going on at the YW. So check out our website, stay connected to us on social media, and we will see you again very soon. Be well, everyone. And thank you so much, Lynette, for sharing this important information with us today. We're so happy to have you in our community.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Bye-bye.